Hi, guys. We are your hosts, Lori.
And Shenisse, certified spiritual life coaches. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to our podcast, Branching In.
Yes. And Shenisse, in this episode, we are going to talk about the language of emotions. Yes. So I guess let's start off with just defining what is the definition? What are emotions? So emotions are energy in motion. They're waves of vibration moving through us, guiding us like an internal compass. They are an integral part of the human experience. There are no bad or good emotions, only messengers with something to tell us.
Yes, exactly. And every feeling has a purpose, a reason for showing up. Fear may signal that something needs our attention. Sadness may invite us to release and heal. Even discomfort is a call to realign and listen more deeply.
Yes, and emotions are not problems to solve or get over. They are a language that they do need to be felt and heard.
Which is so different than like what I grew up in. And I know similar for you, Lori, because I spent the majority of my life ignoring my emotions, suppressing my emotions, pretending that they didn't exist, shoving them into the deepest parts of myself that I could, and just denying that they were there. And then trying to go about my life. Like I thought that suppressing my emotions was healing. Like if I could ignore them and pretend they weren't there,
No.
then I could just go about my life and focus on the other things. But it didn't quite work out that way.
Agreed. Yes, I as well, Shanice, really repressed my feelings because growing up, yes, wasn't taught to feel. Actually, it was more bad or negative to feel anything growing up. So other than okay, other than good. So I
Yeah.
shouldn't say I wasn't taught to feel. I was taught to feel only some of the emotions.
Yes.
And I needed to be happy and good and okay all the time.
Yeah. Similar for me, it was like you said, I wasn't really allowed to express the more negative emotions, especially anger.
Yeah.
Anger was not allowed. The adults could be angry, but the children were not allowed to
Yeah.
express anger.
Be like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. Like,
And that was actually one thing I learned in my own personal coaching sessions was that I had suppressed anger so much so to the point that my ego was not comfortable allowing me to feel anger. So my anger would show up as sadness or hurt. And so it took a lot for me to kind of like allow myself to be
you had
angry,
it so
feel
stuffed.
angry again. Yeah. Yeah. So expressing my emotions was not safe.
Yeah. And I really, what I really come to realize too, Shanice, is both had that same experience as, coming from homes that we're not able to express our feelings, especially negative, bad, what they would consider bad.
Yeah, negative.
Even though there is no bad feelings, but was considered bad, angry, sad. Even for me, sad was hard to even express. But I think our caretakers were very uncomfortable with their own feelings,
Mhm.
so they had a hard time hearing or seeing or feeling other feelings. So
Yeah.
that's where that kind of cycle continued. Is it was just very uncomfortable for them, and I
Yeah.
know that as a mom to not create that same cycle when I started feeling uncomfortable feeling my kids' feelings until I started learning to feel my feelings.
Yes. Oh my God.
It starts with you that you really have to feel your feelings and be in touch with that to be okay with others, not just family members, anybody that's close with you, right? To feel their feelings. Otherwise, I was finding myself shutting my kids' feelings down or not validating them or making their feelings unimportant because actually I was uncomfortable with that.
Yes. No, that's exactly what it is. I realized that I wasn't in touch with my feelings when I found myself unable to hold space for my children's feelings. And like I've mentioned in another episode, a lot of my own healing began when I noticed I was, you know, passing on the same cycles that were passed on to me.
Yes.
And so that was another thing that I had noticed was I would shut down their feelings because I couldn't handle it because I couldn't even handle my own feelings. How can I handle, anyone else's feelings? And I remember when I did start like healing from all of that, being so angry, like angry that I have to heal, angry that, that I had those experiences in my childhood. And I kind of came full circle because in that I realized I love my children. I don't want to pass that on to them. And I know my parents loved me. And it really is just people do what they can at the level of consciousness that they're in. And
Right.
so I forgave my parents and understanding that they did the best they could with what they knew. And these are cycles. They themselves experienced that, and their parents'
Exactly.
parents. And when I was angry, I'm like, well, who do I blame? My parents, my parents' parents, my parents' parents' parents. Like, how far back does it go? And it's
Keeps you in that awareness of why that was happening. Because,
yes,
like I said, like I realized they were uncomfortable. The reason I couldn't feel my feelings or were not allowed to feel my feelings as a child because they were not allowed or they weren't comfortable. So
yeah,
it really made me think, well, boy, they haven't even been able to feel their own feelings.
yes,
And then also put that in perspective to anybody that I'm in relationships with that might have had that same upbringing, to be a little more compassionate about that, and also taught me as well as you, like, to really try to get to know our feelings and understand what are our feelings and to feel our feelings. One thing that we just discovered, Shenisse, when we were creating and talking about all this is the emotional presence equals capacity.
yeah,
So the more you feel, the more resilient you become.
yeah.
Like, oh my,
That's I know that's so true and it's so beautiful. And I remember when I first started feeling my feelings, there was so much fear. I was afraid. I really felt like feeling my feelings would kill me. You know, like that was that
yeah,
fear because they had been so repressed and it felt so big that
yeah,
I was very scared. It was
yeah,
terrifying. But now as I've gotten used to really feeling my feelings and embracing them, I'm not afraid anymore because I've made friends with them. As weird as that sounds, I've made
yeah.
friends with my emotions, and my emotions know that they're safe with me. That I'm not going to repress them anymore. That I'm not going to deny them anymore. And that I'm going to allow them to be. And if I'm confused, I'll ask them questions. What are you trying to tell me? Or I allow them, and it's a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, I love that, Janice. And like you said, treating them as a relationship, that just gives them that space. That just gives them that it's okay. It's a safe place
Yeah,
because you created this space for them. And really, what causes our suffering is the resistance to feeling what is coming in. Because
yeah,
we literally started the definition with our feelings, our emotions are our internal compass. They're here with messages to guide us. That's what how we started this. That's what they're here to do.
hmm,
And think about if you're trying to be guided and moved around, but we're shutting it off. We're pushing it away. It's like about to erupt. It's like being forced to stay closed. That's that resistance. There's the suffering. The suffering is because it wants to come out. It wants to get out. It wants to breathe. It wants to feel. It wants to talk to you. And when we resist that, you can see how that could create a lot of suffering.
it's funny because the majority of the pain we experience isn't from the emotion itself.
It's
It's from our fight against it. And I remember
exactly.
when I read that for the first time, I was just like, oh my God, it was such a revelation. Because resistance creates an internal struggle that amplifies our suffering. So it's not our painful emotions that cause the most pain, it's our fear of feeling them and our belief that we shouldn't feel them or that it's bad to feel them, or because we label our emotions as like, oh well, that's a it's a negative feeling, that's a bad feeling. Right
We were
there,
very
the
conditioned with
labeling of
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the labeling of it and labeling it good or bad creates more suffering in and of itself.
Yeah. And we talked about that we were both brought up with only really our family being okay with the happy and joy, and the more the anger or the sad or whatever feeling was not really as acceptable in the household. That just shows why there's so much fear behind that feeling, because and to normalize that too, because we talk a lot about on our podcast is normalizing that really happened. We really couldn't feel these feelings growing up. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't it be really resistant to feeling something we were told that was not good to feel? We have a lot of judgment around that. That is normal.
Yes.
Why we would be so scared. And I would think this is very common for most of our listeners. You hear people talk, oh, you feel bad, you feel sad, it's labeled that automatically, it's bad.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Oh, you're angry. Why are you angry? And I caught myself, like I said early on, even talking to my kids like that. What's wrong? And I'm like, oh, stop. Started hearing my parents there, and I wanted to really allow them to feel, and that was uncomfortable for me for a bit, transitioning to that. Just normalizing that there is truth there, why this is happening this way, and why you feel so much resistance to that. And it can feel a little scary, and that's normal.
Yes. And so, speaking of normal, so one thing I would like to share with our listeners is my method. And I mean, everyone, there's so many methods and there's so many ways, but I love what I do. And I just want to share that. So, especially when I first began and I was so afraid, the practice that I started that kind of allowed me to start making space for my emotions when I was so terrified of them was validating myself. So saying something along the lines of, well, of course I'm afraid to feel my emotions. I've spent most of my life running from them. I was afraid of how strong they were. And so it's okay that I did that, but I'm here now. And I'm going to prove to myself that I can feel my feelings and they're not going to bowl me over. They're not going to steamroll me, and they're not going to kill me. And so, and then just kind of, and it was helpful for me to kind of place my hands on some form of my body, my chest, my belly, wherever. And then to just kind of be okay, like I'm here for you emotions. I'm creating a safe space for you to, tell me whatever it is you need to tell me, communicate what you need to communicate. And I promise that I will not judge you, that I will listen, and I will just be present with you. And that's how I began.
I love that.
And I did that I hundreds of times. And every time that I did it, I became more and more comfortable with staying present with my feelings and not trying to dissociate or trying to deny them. And now it's a joy. It is an absolute joy for me to be with my emotions and to just let them flow and be what they be. And one other thing I want to bring up is a lot of the times we'll be confused. There's confusion like, well, why am I feeling this way? And I remember learning that that can actually be a block. So even when you don't understand where your emotions coming from, that's okay. You don't have to. And being present with your emotions, sometimes the answer will come through like, oh, that's why I'm feeling this. Sometimes it won't, and that's okay. You don't need to figure out why you're feeling something necessarily.
It's such a normal human thing. We all do that. But why? Right? As children, that we're programmed as kids. But why, mom? But
I
why?
don't understand. Why am I feeling this way?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to figure it out and fix it. But no,
Yeah,
no.
it's normal. That's what we all do. We want to know why. It's getting rid of the why. Sometimes it's okay. Well, we don't need to know why. Wow, really?
Yes, isn't that so?
It's kind of freeing, isn't it? It's freeing. It feels more peaceful to not sit and get stuck on the why. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but just be in it. Just
Yes.
be. Just be.
You don't need to know why to be fully present with your emotions and to create a safe space for them and to allow your emotions to just be what they are. Feel what you feel. You don't need to know why. And sometimes the answer will come and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. And both are good.
And I think the why, Shenisse, thinking about this, the why sometimes becomes so important to us is because that little judgment wants
Mm-hmm.
to get in there and go, I want to know why so I can judge this. And Mr. Judgment comes in and thinks about that and tell me why. Why is because if it's not a good enough reason,
Then
I'm
there's
gonna
no,
say that's right. Then there's
yeah,
no
there's no
reason.
reason you should be feeling this
Right.
way.
So
Yeah.
it's like the why is I really feel like that's again how we were taught is the why says if it's okay or not.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's back to the judgment.
Yeah.
And so that's what's so nice about when you remove the why, it's an easy step to remove the judgment
Yeah.
because That it's tricky. Like, it's tricky why even we want the why, but that's a little thing that's like sneaky getting in there. Well, because when I know why, then I'm going to tell you, maybe that's not so great.
And what's funny is even when we get the why, that's not always the real answer.
Exactly.
Because will I've had so many times where I had a realization. I'm just like, oh, this is why I'm feeling this way. But then a few weeks or months or even hours down the line, I'm just like, oh, but there's something deeper than that. And then there's something even deeper than that. And then you can kind of just keep digging and really get to the root of something. So the first why isn't always the most realist why.
Oh, yeah, because our ego is going into full protection.
Yeah,
So we don't usually always get right to the bottom of it. That's why it's so irrelevant. Like,
exactly.
to make the safe space, you hit it right on the head, Shanice, to create this safe space, to be present with your emotions, just leave the why out. You
If it
know?
comes, it comes.
Yeah,
And if it doesn't, it
exactly.
doesn't.
Just don't put the emphasis there. That's the point is I agree with you. I have an easier time creating space for my emotions without the why
Mhm.
because I know I'll have a tendency to judge that why. So for me, it just is healthier. I can stay more present. I won't go into past, future, all different areas and, think. I'll just be. I can actually feel the emotions a lot better and let them do what they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, not labeling them good or bad, and just being accepting. I treat my emotions like my best friends. And so when your best friend calls you up and they're having a bad day, are you judging them for what they're feeling, or are you just being supportive? I feel like we have such a tendency to be so supportive of the people we love, but then when it comes to ourselves, we're so harsh. And so treat yourself the way you would treat your best friend, the way you would treat your loved ones. Give yourself that same compassion and that same love, and
Yeah.
just be open to whatever it is that's flowing. And that really is life changing. It changes your perception of first yourself and then of everything else outside of you.
Yeah.
So every feeling has a purpose. And it's so important for us to show up for our feelings. So for example, the energy of anger is the energy you use to protect yourself and your boundaries so that you feel safe in the world. If you block yourself from feeling and releasing anger, you will usually blame others or yourself. So, right there, that is such a valid reason to sit with your anger. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to show you that there may be a boundary that you need to create here. So it's so vital.
And you can also can clue in just what you ended that with, Shanice. You can clue in when you are blaming others. That might be you blocking yourself from feeling angry.
Yes.
So coming at that backwards, that feeling, okay, why am I in this blaming thing right now so much? Well, maybe I'm blocking, maybe I have this anger that I have not felt and released. Because
Yes.
that's usually what then shows up is blaming either myself or other people because I didn't feel this anger that was going on, that it is real and valid and I have reasons to feel angry.
Yes.
Yeah, another one, Shanice, is the feeling of sadness. Sadness is used to help us create closure. When something ends, of course it's sad. Something's ending. But if I don't allow myself to feel that sadness and really feel it and then release that, I can very easily slip into a depression because I'm holding that in. And there is, again, like you said, a very valid reason why it's so important to feel these feelings that are coming through and guiding us to feel them and to release them because then
I want to
deepen.
I want to hone in on that really quickly, because a lot of people think you're feeling just to feel. And I feel like that's why we tend to block our emotions so much or try to run away from our emotions, because we don't want to feel it, because it's like, well, then what's the point? I'm just here I am and I'm feeling all this sadness and now I'm just sad, and it's like I don't want to be sad. They don't realize that the key is you feel to release. You're
Yes.
not just going to sit in the feeling and let the feeling have its way with you. No, the act of feeling it and really being present with your emotions is what allows them to be released from your body, especially if these are emotions that have been repressed for years. That's stagnant energy in your body. So you feel to release. There is a purpose in the feeling.
And a benefit. So
Yeah.
there's the purpose, and now we just gave you the benefit of it. So it even is more advantageous to do this feeling and healing and releasing, because there's huge benefits.
Yes. Yeah. And we have a chart in our 10-week boot camp that has a list of all the emotions and then their purpose. So the benefit of feeling the emotion, what it brings, and also what happens if you block the emotion, what that brings. So for example, anger is blame. When you block anger, you will, start to blame yourself for others. For sadness, if you block sadness, you slip into depression. We kind of lay it all out, and it really helps you understand that all emotions are here for a reason. And while the language of emotions may be nonverbal, they're still understandable when we take the time to really listen and feel them.
Yeah. And really emotionalize the truth that they are our internal guide. I
Yes.
mean, it is our compass. And Shanice, when I read through that chart that we have in our camp and really emotionalized, oh my gosh, all these benefits, and really used my feelings as my guide. Wow, what a difference. I literally had a whole nother language. Just like out there just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like I came to life. I literally came to life. You can show up for all your experiences so much differently,
Yes.
by having this whole other language in your back pocket that most of us, I'm sure, were not even aware or treated it as another language.
And you know what's funny is when we start to understand, when we start to sit with our emotions, really be present with them and feel them, and we'll start to gain that understanding that our emotions are for us, that they're here for us, and that there is a purpose. That has helped me so much when I'm in situations where other people are expressing their emotions, create space for them, and also understand, let's say someone's kind of spewing their anger out on me, really understand, like really not take it personal, because
Yeah.
now I have a better understanding of the language of emotions, and I understand that that person has their own thing, maybe though they don't have a relationship with their feelings, and that's
Yeah.
why they're taking it out on me. And so it's just it creates so much more understanding all around for
Yeah.
myself and for others.
Yeah. You're able
Allows
to
me
create
to
space for both them and you.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love that, Shanice. And it is everything we talk about that we refer usually to ourselves, but it's always then we can take it to the outside as well. So we've emotionalized this inside ourselves and worked with it. So we can so much easier look at outside of us and our children, our friends, our family, and have a whole different perspective because we actually went through that ourselves. So and it creates even a more deeper understanding. You go deeper with that.
Yes. Yeah, you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Exactly. I love that though. I love that. But yeah, Shanice, I kind of want to end this guest house poem by Rumi. Oh, it just hits it on the head. Everything we talked about today. I'll start with this and I'll let you finish it.
Okay.
Um,
Sounds
the
good.
name of the poem again is called The Guest House. And here it begins. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably.
He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Rumi. I love that poem.
I absolutely love that as well. And Shanice, something we thought about that all of our listeners can reflect on today is everything we've been just talking about made me think about what emotion have you all been avoiding? And can you give it some space?
Yes. Oh, I love that. Please take some time because I know so many of us get so uncomfortable at the idea of really feeling our emotions. And that's so normal and that's so valid. I mean, so many of us have grown up in that environment where it wasn't safe to feel
Yeah.
our emotions.
It's
So,
so yeah, yep, so common. I hear that all the time from so many people that I talk to, and Shanice, you do too, and you and I talk about this over and over and over again.
yeah.
How it was so part of our whole beginning on the planet. But yeah, really take some time to think about maybe start with one emotion, just one emotion that you might have been avoiding and, practice giving it some space. And if you feel comfortable, we'd love to hear you share in the comments.
Yes, please. I know, it's totally valid if you don't want to share, especially if feeling your emotions is new.
Yeah.
But if you feel comfortable, yes, please. And Lori and I take the time once a week to reply to all the comments. So please
Yes.
share if you feel.
Love that. Absolutely welcome that. Whatever feels right. Okay. So, Shanice, to wrap up in this episode, we defined what emotions are and how they serve as internal guides, as well as the value of being emotionally present, because the more you feel, the more resilient you become.
And if you'd like to learn more about us or check out our products and services, you can click link in the description. So today's quote is by Brene Brown. When we numb painful emotions, we also numb the positive emotions. And I bet many of you didn't know that. I sure did not
I
know
did not
that.
know that. And that is just another good, valid reason to feel them all.
Yes, yes. And that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening to Branching In with Shanice.
And Lori. So join us for our next episode. We post every Friday. See you guys then.